Okay, we're live. This is the Conference Committee on H.790, the Budget Adjustment Act of FY26. This is the first meeting, and we're going through the differences. I don't know how you want to do that.
Well, I have a few things to say and propose and agree with or not, and we appreciate what you all put together. I think, we were really pretty closely aligned in many things, and the things we have to talk about, there just aren't that many of them, but there are a couple, and you got new information about some things, and we've gotten new information since then, so we can just go through that. I'm just trying to coordinate with my notes from other stuff I got, and then your the grayout sheet. So
I don't know if the grayout sheet is easier or the.
I don't know if you got this.
Yeah.
You got one of those too. Okay. So it's all right because I know what I want to say. So the first thing about Meals on Wheels, which is the Vermont Center for Independent Living, they came to us and they came to our public hearing and specifically asked for $30,000, and so we granted their request. And we noticed that you increased that by 2.5 times. I'm concerned about us setting a precedent when somebody asks us for a specific amount that we give them a whole lot more than what they've asked for. And I know that you got the money from 2 different places. That we had left about $18,000 on the bottom line, and you used 10 from there, and then you took 40 from the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters, which is kind of a supporting our farmers as well as people who need to eat. So I'd like to propose from the House that we keep the 10,000 that's in the that you had an additional 10,000, so that would make that 40,000. They asked for 30, and then we return the other 40 back to the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters program, so we keep them whole what they asked for. So that's what we'd like to compromise with.
Okay. Do you want to talk about it, or do you want to go through your other?
However you'd like to do that.
Okay.
You're the chair.
Okay. Well, I'll let Westman respond to the Meals on Wheels request.
Well, last year, the Meals on Wheels program had to raise about $7 million to balance their budget. I think that most of there's a huge number of people that deliver meals for free.
Yeah.
And our volunteers that go all around the state to do that. This is not a wealthy program, and there is of the 43 Meals on Wheels site, at least half of them are hanging on by a shoestring.
Yeah.
So any indication that the Meals on Wheels organizations, most of the people that do volunteer work, my food shelves, my Meals on Wheels sites that have volunteers, they're very reluctant to ask for help.
Yes.
And any help they get is really needed.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Any indication that they didn't ask for more, everybody that works on my Meals on Wheels site works very hard.
Yeah.
So any help we can give them.
But so what I'd like to say is that this is not their standard Meals on Wheels program. This is a specific program. It's not the Meals on Wheels that you're thinking about and that my husband volunteers for. I'm pretty familiar with how Meals on Wheels works. This is for the Vermont Center for Independent Living, specifically for meals that are delivered across the state to individuals with disabilities who are under the age of 60. So it's not all the people that you're talking about it's just this one specific program, which is why they're asking for less. I think we'll probably hear from Meals on Wheels folks in public hearings for the broader program, but this is a very narrow program that supports a specific number of people. So that's why we kind of felt that was a reasonable thing.
Any of these programs, the money inside of the organization are completely fungible, and none of these programs try turn anyone down in any of this. So in any place that we can help it, and I was very aware that this of the group that this was.
It's a specific group as opposed to the whole group.
And it's a specific group that's harder to serve and needs help.
Right. So that's why we gave them what they asked for, and what we're willing to do is give them another 10, which is what you'd put in, but then keep the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters, which also supports farmers and our people who are hungry across the state. So anyway, I'm presenting that for you to think about.
So that's 1 and
That's
1 and 8.
1 and 8.
Okay.
And then we're fine with the modifying the language to a one-time payment increase. Did I miss one? No, that's one-time section. Okay. I think this makes sense to us, the allowable portion of the proposed appropriation for the women's recovery residents. Could you just tell us about it? Wasn't sure what that was. It looks like it's going to the
Hope recovery.
the recovery people, but what's the 20% or the?
We had put in their last budget so that they could buy a building. They ended up getting a grant that helped them to buy the building,
Okay.
but they had operational costs that they were hoping to use some for that to, you know, for setting up this new building.
Mm-hmm.
But not ACCD, maybe it is
DED,
ACCD.
Department of Economic Development, yeah.
They were like, you can't, the way the program is, you can't use it, you have to use it only for capital costs.
Okay.
And so they were saying, that's just the way the program is set up. So if you either need to get a change or you need to change your budget. And so they asked if this could be something. They don't know if it needs 50,000, but they thought that would be.
Okay,
in the
and was
range
that
of what
up
they
to
would-
50,000?
Yeah. That was the intent.
Okay. Okay. And it's for the recovery people, it's not for DED to do administrative
No,
stuff?
right.
Okay,
It's for Hope Recovery Center
Yeah.
for their operating.
okay, okay. Does that clarify, are we okay with that?
I think so.
Yeah, okay, so we will agree to that.
Okay.
Number 5.
Number
correct?
5.
Yeah.
The LAOB modifying the language, I assume, it sounds like they came to you and said, could we be clearer on the language? Is that what happened with that?
They did, yeah.
Okay.
They said that because it's the resilience grants was the main reason, and since it didn't
Okay.
mention resilience grants, they wanted to make sure that was.
Okay, and we had said Homes for All, and we also included Phase 2, but I guess if we just say Homes for All, that covers the whole initiative.
Right.
Okay, so that's fine. Go with that. This is again the non-emergency medical transport language again, that's fine.
Which we appreciated the House putting that in, because it was something we had been thinking about.
Yeah, and this is a longer term structural issue
Yeah.
that needs to be dealt with by the administration.
Right.
Okay, so.
Transportation will figure it out.
Good. We'll look forward to hearing what you have to say. So 1 and 8, we'll get back to because they're related.
Yeah.
And then the child care contribution reserve, sounds like what the language that we had put in was maybe a little bit redundant or something. That was part of the technical letter that the governor said we
Right.
didn't need to have that sentence.
Have to
Right.
reconcile
It's
those.
not hurting anybody getting anything and it doesn't change anything, so that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. And then we talked about the 50 million and you had proposed another additional use to support municipalities primarily with public safety issues if they were determined to be needed, and we are fine with that language.
Okay.
Okay, section 8, and vouchers. Let's just pause on 12 and 13 for a moment. 14 is related to 1 and 8. And then 15 and 16, just clarifying language, those were fine. Okay. So getting back to 12 and 13, the language with section 8 housing vouchers and the payment reform. We are going to have language for you at 8:30 tomorrow morning, which is why we're going to need to meet at 10:30. On these two, I think we're not going to have, I'm looking at Nolan, I don't think we're going to have the language for the payment reform, but I can sort of tell you what we're thinking
Yeah, that
about
would be
now, and then please, everybody jump in if I get this wrong, and everybody in JFO. Nope, that's Dale. Okay. So we've had subsequent meetings with the Vermont State Housing Authority, and Jerry Fiskel's also had additional phone calls, and it continues to evolve. And I think where we are now is that we want to put a specific dollar amount and do the 5 million. I said to JFO, can we do up to? And they said, no, we have to just do an amount. But we haven't figured out on the other end to get it back. So the proposal would generally say that we would transfer $5 million from this fund to DCF for the purposes of the housing. And then, so that would be this designated state entity that you had sort of,
Right.
weren't sure what that should be. And then, then what we would do on the other end, and I'll get to some of the other details in the middle, is that we want them to have all of the age of the public housing authorities apply by July 1st so that we know what the amount is. They would apply by July 1st, so we would know, they would have the universe of applicants so that we wouldn't need the whole proportional thing, because the problem with the proportional is there's not necessarily a relationship between the number of vouchers and the need. Some public housing authorities are in better shape than other housing authorities. But if DCF has the universe of what the requests are, then they can make their decisions based on what the need is for everybody. So I think we understood what you were trying to get at, but we wanted to ensure the funds are available.
Is there language that JFO is going to propose as it relates to that issue of
I think so.
geography?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Grady's working on some language, and we will get that figured out, and that's what we present to you.
Okay.
The details of
Geography,
that.
You mean like equitable distribution geographically, or what do you mean?
Well, I think that's interesting because equitable, what's the basis, right?
Yeah.
Because, and I think proportional was a little more on mark. But I think that there are some housing authorities that are not going to need to apply for the funding. And so, I was just thinking in my head as we were talking about this, is there a way to just indicate that DCF should take into account geographic diversity in its funding decisions, or, whatever, but.
We don't want one housing authority, which is, I don't think you didn't want one
Right.
housing authority to just scoop up all the money.
Yeah.
So, but this was a little too prescriptive and not necessarily addressing the issue, because the need varies. So Grady's gonna, come up with some miracle
And is it
language.
going to give DCF that ability to make that decision?
I
then?
think so, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
with some criteria,
Yeah. And so,
Senator Lyons?
I was just gonna say the word proportional makes a little more sense than geographic, but
I don't think we really meant geographic. I think we meant just reviewing the needs of the whole state.
got it.
And whoever
Right.
needs some money, and you need some money, but you need more than this guy does to make you whole, and so we look at it that way, not dividing it up by 8 or
Right.
whatever the total.
And having
Right.
DCF make that
Yeah.
call.
yeah,
Yeah,
but if
that's
we
good
will have sort of general language to lead them in that
Okay.
direction.
And can I ask another question, or do you want to finish?
I've got two more things. In section B2 under here, it says if funds are transferred, they may be made available for one of the following purposes. And the second one said with prior approval from HUD, and we want to say with prior written approval from HUD, because there are lots of times there's conversations that the PHAs have with HUD, and just saying, oh, they said it was okay is not, good. So we want to have that. And then we also are going to ask for a progress report to the Joint Fiscal Committee at the September meeting
From DCF?
from DCF, because they'll know the universe of need by July 1st, as it is, and then, so they can report to us in September. And then there will be language that says anything that's unallocated by December 31st, 2026. So we'll, basically, we'll have the authority to, it'll revert back. So that the administration and DCF, and they aren't going to be able to use the money for something else. They can't use it and revert it and repurpose it or do anything. So we're trying to make sure that we have control over anything that is unspent on the other end. It comes back to this pool of funds. It'll sound a lot better when Grady writes the language.
No, that seems to make sense. I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah.
July 1st seems like plenty of time. Why did you pick July 1st?
Well,
What do we
for
want to
one
do
thing,
sooner?
we felt that it's gonna take DCF a couple or more months to stand up a program.
Right. So it's more on DCF side than on the.
And a
housing
little bit
authorities.
on the housing, because they'll, as every month goes by, they have more information, but we don't wanna wait we want them to know that the money will be available. They can do some planning, and then that will give them time to make their intentions, their wishes known.
And DCF was fine with that.
We
course.
haven't given them the language
Okay.
yet. Because we don't have it to give them.
Yeah,
yet.
yeah. I just wonder on the date. Like if they said, well, yeah, we could set up and.
Right, so we're gonna have the administration look at it. We're gonna have Cameron in Ledge Council look at it, because he's been our legal advisor
Right.
for Section 8, which is why we don't have any of that for you yet.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know there was a concern of trying to get as many rented months
Yes,
into the program, so.
that's right.
But also understand we need time to figure it out. And
Yeah.
they need some time to know exactly what they're getting.
Right, and if they know this is in here, then that's gonna help them, the
Make their
PHAs
plan.
make their plan as well.
Right, maybe they don't have to retire a voucher because they know
Right.
this is coming.
They might delay that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think it would be interesting to see the language on how DCF is gonna make the decision on how to
Yeah.
divide the money up or how much money to provide.
Right, so that will be, we don't have that.
You have your
all.
best minds
Right.
working on
We have the best minds working on it.
it.
Thank goodness. So that's where we're headed with that,
Okay,
okay? And then the payment reform, developmental services payment reform, I don't know where we are on that, Nolan. We have some, oh wait, I have something, don't I?
Yeah.
Where's my notes? So there were like 4 different dates about when things were supposed to happen. Our concern was that we would like things to happen as much as possible while the General Assembly is still in session. And so it isn't June 30th and it isn't July, that sort of thing. So what we're looking at is the October 1st date for the final stabilization plan, October 1st of 2027, we're fine with, that's not a change. We're looking at the DAs and SSAs submitting to the department on or before April 1st. And we checked, was that you, Chip or Nolan checked and said they're giving this information to Dale anyway, so that that's not a hardship for them to do an April 1st date.
okay.
And then we thought that the meeting with all the committee-related people, and I already have my designee, if this goes through, would be on or before April 15th.
Okay,
And then down in D, it would be on or before May 1st instead of April 15th. They should submit a written progress report, because that needs to happen after the meeting.
right.
And then I think we're gonna were we asking for another date, Nolan, to?
No, but what we did was there's a bunch of cleanup languages that we had done from the Senate version to kind of streamline it a little bit. So the essence is there, it just takes out some of the extra words.
The flowery
So we'll have
language.
we'll have copies, I have to get to Katie still, and then we'll get a copy to you tonight or tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
and who are you?
Oh, for the record. Thank you.
Never seen it before.
Literally, as a chair, I lost track of who I was.
So there was a March date in there and then you moved it to April.
There was a May date that we moved to April.
So you moved the May date and then you moved,
We moved the a June date to April and an April date to May.
Got it.
We kind of looked at the timeline of when things had to happen, and it would be good to have certain information before. And we may have also talked about having a progress report to joint fiscal committee for this as well. Maybe we didn't. We might not have. Okay. I can't
We didn't
remember
talk
now.
about it, but I think Nolan does not think it's a good idea.
Not necessary.
Not
For the record, I have no opinion.
Right.
So that might be something we could look at too. So
Okay.
those are the 2 pieces of language that we are going to get cleaned up, and then we can give that to you. If we get it before the end of the day, we can let you see it, and then, we can talk about it in the
And
morning.
has this been shared with all the negotiating parties that come up with the language we had in the Senate proposal, because there was a flurry of
Yes,
negotiations, and I was
right,
happy that they all agreed to it. So I'd hate to change something that breaks that all apart.
right. They weren't thinking about the General Assembly and all that they agreed to.
Right.
So we'll make sure we circle back and
Okay.
that the affected parties that aren't just us know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
So I think that's everything on the list. Is that,
Yeah, so
let's see, did we do
So
technical
the
letter?
Meals
No,
on
that's the way.
Wheels,
There's a whole lot of, there's 3 related Meals
3 to
on
the million,
Wheels.
1, 8, and 14.
And then 2 language, which we just talked about, the housing
And then
assistance and the payment reform.
2 isn't really a thing.
No, it doesn't need
Yeah.
a checkbox.
I agree with 2.
Yeah.
2 and
I can do that.
2 and
No doubt about that.
2 and 9 are.
2, I think we're good on
Nine
those.
doesn't have a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of 3
Yeah.
things that
We'll-
we're left
We'll
with.
talk about the Meals on Wheels things and have a response at our next meeting.
Okay.
And then we'll look at the language for the Section 8
Yeah.
and the DA.
Yeah, and if we get that early, we'll send that over to you, so you have a copy of that too. And I think we're talking about meeting at 8:30 tomorrow morning, and then I think we're talking about 10:30?
I've heard tell.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah,
so, and then we can
10:30.
be done.
So the question is,
the
can
third
we
meeting
meet
would-
at 10:30?
Well,
It's TBA on transportation.
Okay,
I think it will be, the 10:30 would be like a 15-minute
okay.
kind of wrap up is my guess.
we'll, what we'll do, unless your committee's meeting.
We got we have a heavy duty, meeting in the morning, should be able to escape by 10:30.
Okay.
Certainly by 10:45.
If we do, if we have to, I'll bring committee and just tell them.
Yeah.
Would 10:45 be better for you?
Get a longer bathroom.
Okay,
10:45 is always better. 10:30 is fine. I can take
okay.
care of it.
We can decide that. We don't have to
We can
decide it
decide
this
that at
second, I don't
8:30.
think.
Because you're not on the floor or anything.
No, we're on we don't need to be on
You
the
don't
floor.
go on the floor. Right? Okay,
Yeah. We have
Okay.
flexibility in the morning, so,
we'll confirm at our 8:30 morning whether it's
okay.
exactly.
Yeah.